the Maylene thing was cool just because it was just like everybody's like, "What the hell is this?" Like
Right.
Oh, it completely
Yeah.
took over.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it was just I gave that record to so many people, and they were just like, "What is this?" I mean, I had him
Yeah.
play a sales conference with Marty Stewart at Capitol, and everybody's like, "What in the world is going on?"
Oh my God. I would kill to be there for that.
Church Jams now.
Welcome to Church Jams Now, the podcast where three former youth group kids and current music nerds deep dive into Christian music from the 90s and 2000s. I, of course, am your co-host, Kylan Savage. With me, as always, is Mr. TJ Smith.
Man, how are you, Kylan? Are you well?
I am well. No snake bites to report this month.
I'm really glad.
yeah.
I feel like this is kind of just like a new expectation we have with the show is just like checking in with Kylan.
Yeah, I
How's
don't
he
love
doing?
it. I don't love it. I don't love
Just
it.
setting the stage, making sure.
Hold on, we
everything
gotta back
is
up for a
cool.
second. Snake bite. Did you get snake bit?
I did, and I posted
Legitimately.
I posted a picture of it on Twitter and said, "Don't get snake bit."
Well, you got to say snake bit, not snake bite. Snake
Yeah,
bit.
snake bit. Yeah,
Get bit. Get bit.
yeah.
You're a Showdown fan. You
Get
got-
bit.
We're also joined by beautiful Everlord Josh Olson.
Hey guys, seems like we were going on the same page because I was going to say we have quite the showdown here tonight.
Ooh,
But,
there we
there's
go.
Mhm.
We are joined, of course, by the man, the myth, the monoverse stereo himself, Brad Moist. Brad, how are you tonight?
Good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Good to be here. I am no myth or legend or anything like that.
I don't know, in certain
I'm one of you
circles.
guys, man. I'm one of you guys. I grew up a
He's
youth
a man of the people. We love to hear it.
and I'm a youth group kid just like you guys. Probably maybe a little bit older, probably a lot
Yeah.
older than you guys. Yeah, youth group kid and all about the alternative scene and Christian music and all that kind of stuff. So honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we are so excited.
Yeah,
This has been a
stoked.
long time coming, right, Josh?
It has been, yeah, a little bit.
I feel like peek behind the pop filter. This is Brad. You've been someone we've wanted to have on for, I mean, a couple of years at this point. I think, right?
Very cool.
We've had some
We've messaged back and forth a couple of times and just trying to, life gets in the way and
for
in a
sure.
good way, right? We're all
Yeah.
busy. Families
But
are
sooner or later,
yeah.
we got you.
glad. Yeah, man.
That's right.
We're persistent.
Sweet.
Hey, oh,
So, Brad, I would love to start out. Usually, what I ask are when we have people on the show is, since our show is all about Christian music from the 90s and 2000s, I want to know your origin story.
Yeah.
Essentially, just what kind of household did you grow up in? Like, what kind of music did you grow up listening to?
Yeah.
And then how did you get into what you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, quick story is I was born and raised in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Grew up in a Christian household. Went to a killer youth group. It was called Power Jam because youth groups in the '90s had names.
so
right?
good.
Heck yeah.
That's
Oh, man.
essentially
It was
like
Power. I'm sorry, it was Power Line.
Power Line.
Power Line. Our music division was called Power Jam,
I love that.
which was
It's
our youth
great.
pastor back in the '90s, and it still kind of exists now. There was this thing called Interlink, which you guys probably
Mhm.
heard of, that would distribute music.
Oh, yeah.
Groups. And our youth pastor was a part of that, and we got all kinds of free tapes and CDs at our church. And so we actually started, me and two other guys started this thing called Power Jam off of Power Line, and we would DJ youth group parties with alternative Christian music.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sick.
It was pretty fun. Lock-ins at roller skating rinks, and we
Oh,
would just
yeah.
do the event like that, and lock-ins at the church and stuff, and it was a lot of fun. So,
Yeah. Brad, I also did something like that. It was a one-off, and it was like two different churches, mine and a buddy's. Our youth ministers thought it would be a good idea to put us in charge when we were in high school of an entire church lock-in of two churches worth of youth groups.
yeah.
And we had an energy drink bar. We had like a rock band come play. It was like not like a Christian band either. They were just like
Okay.
a random like rock band, local. It was bananas. Like it was kind of a crazy, crazy night.
Was
But
it a power
all
jam?
that to say, you're
That's stress though. I
it
know
was a
it's
power
like,
jam.
yeah, we had multiple youth groups come to this event, and I would DJ at this roller skating rink, and yeah, it was stressful. But I did it so much that then friends that graduated, that moved on from youth group and college and got married, then they would ask me to like DJ their wedding, but I didn't know
Yeah,
what.
you're the guy.
Yeah,
right?
but I didn't know what DJ. I didn't know that DJing a wedding was different than DJing.
A lock-in.
So the first time I DJed a wedding, it was awful. I mean,
Oh
it
my
was,
gosh.
I was only playing, like, Jars of Clay and DC Talk at a
Yeah,
wedding.
Sonic Flood for the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
Didn't
dance.
make any sense. Like,
Yeah. All right,
it
so for their first dance, here's Goaty Hook.
yes,
Like-
exactly. It was. I think I played that because one of my friends who got married, we went to a lot of Goaty Hook shows, and
Oh, that's so funny.
I'm sure I played some Goaty Hook. So yeah,
I love
Incredible.
but yeah, man. So youth group kid, and then one of my first major concerts was going to see Michael W. Smith, the Go West tour, and at Hershey Park
Oh,
Arena,
wow.
and DC Talk opened up, and that was on the New Thing record, and that was my exposure to DC Talk. So that was '92, and around that same time, being on a bus going to school, Pearl Jam and Nirvana were floating around because it had been out for a little bit, and I think those records came out fall of '91. Nirvana and Pearl Jam, Metallica Black Album, and then I think it was spring '92 is when I saw Go West tour with DC Talk, and so I was it was weird because I, like a lot of guys probably, like I was into all of it. I was listening to Michael W. Smith and DC Talk, but then I was listening to Pearl Jam and Nirvana, and Boyz II Men was huge for me. I was a huge Boyz II Men fan. I listened to all of it, and yeah, man, just grew up heavily involved in my youth group. We went to a lot of concerts. We were really blessed that in central Pennsylvania, there was a massive, the biggest Christian music festival, Creation, was just like an hour and a half west of where I'm from, and outside of where my dad grew up. And so I grew up going to that festival. Purple Door was an arts and music festival that started in Lancaster. That was right outside of my area when I graduated high school. So I grew up going to that. And so there's just a great music scene. There's some iconic shows that came out of central Pennsylvania during the mid to late '90s. And I was blessed to be a part of those as a fan. And yeah, man, I was into music, and then when I went to college, I took a music business course at a community college, and part of it was getting an internship, and I interned at a music store. Back in the '90s, Christian music was in bookstores, right? And so a guy I knew in Harrisburg left the bookstore, Christian Publications, and started his own music store called Cross Selections, and it was just music.
Oh, wow.
So at that time, there was nothing like that. And so I interned there. I got like a 30 to 40% discount on stuff. And so I blew through my money on mail order at a discount. But it was great. I learned music business course stuff. And then I got to learn retail a little bit, calling labels and distributors and just trying to get stuff in. We did CD release shows without the band. Like we did a CD release party for the Much Afraid record by Jars of Clay and Conspiracy Number 5 by Third Day, where we just invited people to come and they would get a discount on the record. We would play the record the whole way through and just had a party, Then when I transferred my last 2 years to Penn State, I got into radio and worked at a radio station there. Took a station from AM to FM, and then got involved with local bands in Pennsylvania and went on the road in the state of Pennsylvania. And then even one summer after college, went on the road and tour managed a band. There was a record label out of California called Screaming Giant Records. They had Rod Laver, Tasty Snacks, Lugnut, Early Officer Negative stuff, I think maybe. Quick story is that the bass player in Tasty Snacks is the bass player in Linkin Park. So if you've ever known that kind of thing. So my first tour, guy that was in Linkin Park. Other cool story was that we met a band at a festival in Texas called Ludacris, and they were so awesome. They were like, join us on tour for the summer. And so they hopped in a van and joined us on tour all summer. And so my first tour was with those guys, and we still stay in contact and see each other every now and then at festivals and stuff. And it was just a great way to cut your teeth together. First time doing a national tour in a van, And when I graduated college, I just wanted to get into music. And so came to Nashville for an internship at Goatee Records, and it was unpaid, and lived in a house for like $100 a month in a garage in Franklin, Tennessee, and interned at Goatee 9 to 5. There wasn't rules on interns' hours at that time, and waited tables at a diner, and then it turned into a part-time job and then a full-time job. And 25 years later, here I am at Integrity Music now.
Right.
So, but that's the quick thing. But man, like a lot of guys on these podcasts and stuff, like I grew up in the church and Grew up going to a lot of incredible concerts, from Goaty Hook to Danielson Family to Plank Eye, MXPX, Supertone, Stave Saker. I mean, all that stuff. Central Pennsylvania was just because of Creation and Purple Door, there was just a great touring market there. And with JTL, which is an awesome radio station in Central Pennsylvania, there was just a lot of great synergy.
Yeah.
All those things, saw Prayer Chain on the side stage of Creation in '94, and it was incredible on the Shaw record. Just awesome shows. Back in the day, DC Talk would bring helicopters in to come into Creation. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
I just got
Wild.
So I'm friends with well, I guess we're all friends with Valentine Hellman from the W's, and he sent me a bunch of VHS tapes because I collect VHS
from the DC Talk tour.
And I have one of them on the DC Talk, the Supernatural. But he gave me there's a from 1999 a Creation Fest VHS that's like part documentary, part
concert film.
Concert film. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just ripped it, so I now have the digital version of it. It's great. It's very cool. I have to send you guys that.
Yeah, man, I've seen some. I don't know. I was just lucky. That area was just a great touring market for bands. I mean, Goaty Hook was from that area. There's some great local bands in Pennsylvania. Jawbone Hill was one. Rain Children, which those are two massively influential bands in my life. I got to know those guys, go on the road with them. Yeah, man. So I don't know. I feel very blessed and grateful that I got to have an environment that was just supportive of that, and that those opportunities were there to see those kind of shows.
Yeah.
And that I got to work with bands in that area and just kind of learn through college and through internships and going on the road with bands what I wanted to do with my life, which was to work in music. Never wanted to be in a band. Just wanted to. I loved the liner notes on records and wanted to be behind the scenes. And dream was to have my own record label one day, which I was blessed to be able to have. And that's kind of the quick.
I love
story.
that. Let's talk about that record label.
Yeah.
For a minute.
Yeah. If we have to.
Josh.
And we don't have to do too much of a deep dive, right? Fortunately.
Right.
On that specifically. the elephant in the room. There's a great podcast already out there all about that.
That is very
true.
That
is
all
very
good.
true. I mean, I can reshare anything. It's all good. There's different listeners on some of these things, so it's all good. But yeah, I mean,
that's true. But everyone should check out your interview with The Rumors Are True.
Great episode.
Great episode.
Covers.
That was that was like a year ago. It was fun.
Yeah.
I was actually on my. Oh no, we did it. Yeah, that's right. Yep, it was fun.
It's so funny because we're like, I feel like Jeremy and Josh are like on the same wavelength in terms of the people they're trying to get on their shows.
Yep.
You guys are always like, either we'll get someone first or he'll get someone first.
It's all good.
But I love it. Josh, do you know?
It's cool to be in that kind of podcast world that we all kind of share
it's a good place
guests
to be.
and
for sure. Josh, do you know
stories.
offhand how many mono versus stereo releases we've covered on Church James now at this point?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, we're definitely up to 5+. If you count the RK stuff post the kind of changeover after RK did it.
Yep.
I guess we've done Collapsible Long, I guess. I'd say we're probably 5, 6, 7, maybe.
Yeah,
2 Maylenes, 1 Showdown, both Chasing Victories.
I don't think I've listened to all, unfortunately. Sorry, but I've tried to keep up with
fine.
them. I know.
I haven't either, so you're fine.
And he was there.
But it's interesting because even though I did the mono versus stereo thing, I was so involved at Goatee for such a long 24 years with Goatee Records. When I came, the label had been around for 6 years. They started in '94, and I started there in 2000. And when I came to the label, we had just signed John Rubin and Reliant K, and so I was in early on with both those guys, with those the band and with John, and just because I loved them, you know what I mean, and got to know them really well. One of my early conversations actually with Reliant K was before they were even signed to Goatee. They were in the process of signing. We were playing a show. The band that I was working with was doing a show with them, and we were fighting to go on the same tour. And it was Bleach and PAX 217, and then eventually became Reliant K. It was like the spring of 2000.
Wow!
Like Reliant K's first kind of outing outside of Ohio in the Northeast and stuff. And it was a great tour. And the band I was working with was a terrible band name called Devoted Molded. And they were out of York, Pennsylvania. And they were on Screaming Giant Records. And so we were trying to get on that tour as well. And we'd known the Bleach guys. But anyways, I just got to know those guys, and so even though Mono versus Stereo was my thing, it was a part of Goatee Records. If people don't know that, and so I was still doing Goatee stuff while I was doing Mono versus Stereo at the same time. The whole thing was I'd been at Goatee for a couple of years, was really passionate about Reliant K and John Rubin, and there was a lot of bands that had come across the desk at Goatee that we didn't sign, and I was kind of bummed about that. I wanted to sign the Bleach Guys really bad. I wanted to sign this band called Spoken really bad. We were talking to this band Holland that eventually became the Lonely Hearts. They eventually went to Tooth and Nail, and I was just like, man, we got to find a place for these artists. And Goatee was just really, they had a bigger roster, and they were just really busy. And so I pitched the idea of Mono versus Stereo. It was really just to be something different, to have a Tooth and Nail kind of vibe, lower budget records, things like that, bands that were going to tour clubs more than churches and things. And so that was really kind of how it was birthed. And I'm just really grateful that Goatee, the ownership there, gave me the opportunity. I didn't have any financial investment in it. I didn't want any ownership. I didn't want to be responsible for it financially. I just wanted the creative freedom to give it a name, sign the bands that I wanted to, and just do my thing. And they trusted I think I was 25 at the time to start a record label, which is just wild. And
That is wild.
Super grateful for the Evan Anthem being the first band. And those guys came out of a band called Devoted Molded from Pennsylvania. So they were my first signing. That's how I got to know those guys. And they were the guinea pigs, out of the gate, which was great. And I'm super grateful. But because of that synergy with Goatee, some of the artists were so supportive. Reliant K, John Rubin, Marzil, Notaverbs. I mean, they were always wearing the merchandise or helping out however they could. Reliant K definitely helped out a ton on the early stages, just stickers everywhere and merchandise and taking bands on tour and being a part of compilations and side projects and 7 inches and just all kinds of wild stuff. And so the label really, we just had a lot of support and it was great, So, but yeah, that's kind of how it started.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
It was great. Great label. I mean, for the releases I feel like you're able to get going pretty quickly because you said it was like 2003 with Evan Anthem. And then like by the next year you had the Showdown, then you had Chasing Victory, and then Maylene. Like it was pretty quick hitting the ground running.
Yeah, because I wanted to, and there were, I don't know if I've talked about in this other podcast, but I had to make a decision pretty quick because there was a lot of opportunities coming my way with other bands that I was a fan of that needed a record label. So Stave Sticker was looking for a deal, Project 86. Toby, who owns Goatee, called me about Kevin Max putting out a solo record, and I had to quickly make a decision. Do I want this label to be bands that have been known and just need some help, or do I want to build this thing from the ground up? And I quickly was like, I want to find artists that no one's heard of, sign and develop them and go from the ground up, which was harder because there was no platform for those artists on the get-go. Nobody knew who these bands were. I just felt like what I wanted to do. And but also I wanted to find bands in the Southeast because I just felt there was something there on a touring level that we could create some synergy, and just was lucky to find Chasing Victory was a mail-in demo that I listened to and a bunch of stuff that came in. And I had found the Showdown through mp3.com, which was an old music discovery site, kind of like Pure Volume. And then eventually found Maylene. And so we were able to do a lot of stuff together, which I think was super beneficial early on, and for a way for the label to just to get a footing. Because, Tooth and Nail in the early aughts was dominating, right? I mean, they were just on so many levels. They had a great sales guy, Derek Tenenbush, who did some great relationships with Best Buy and just really helped their product get in stores. So I was never going to, even though we had the same distribution partner in Capital, it was never really going to compete heavily against something like that. They were a more established label, more revenue, all that kind of stuff. But I just felt like we could,
you guys carved out a niche for sure.
You were doing your own thing, and that's what I think was the success of Mono versus Stereo at the time. Was like it was its own,
right?
It like had its own identity. And I think you talked about this a little bit on the Rumors Are True episode, but you didn't really want it to have like a genre identity.
Yeah.
And so that actually, like when I was listening to that, I was like, that's really cool. And it led me to wonder, and I'd love to ask you and just have you kind of share like whatever comes to mind when I ask this. Because I don't know that there's like a broad kind of general across the board answer. So
Yeah.
just whatever comes to mind. But what makes a band feel signable, or like what are you looking for
Ooh, I had
aside
the
from the
same
numbers?
question, TJ.
Yeah, Josh. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, me
So
too.
aside from the
Me too,
numbers,
guys.
Well,
yeah,
numbers,
Good job.
totally.
numbers is something we say nowadays. Back then, there wasn't numbers, right? There wasn't.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, there wasn't
You're just
data.
kind of looking for that. Like you said, like the region thing, the southeast, like you're looking for a synergy, you're looking for like tour dynamics that make sense. I know all that stuff. So maybe I'll replace the word numbers with logistics. Aside from logistics, what are you looking for? Like is it like a live energy when you see them live and you're just like they're infectious, they're huge, their energy is massive. Is it something that you notice on records or like demos that you have heard that you just feel like there's a spark there? Is it a band that has it all figured out? Is it a band that's really rough but you hear the potential? Just speak to that. Whatever comes to mind. What
Yeah,
what
for me,
led you?
it's like I always look for something unique and different. A unique voice, a unique sound. Those are things I'm drawn to. If you're signing just a copycat of something else, or that could be on another record label, I think you're fighting an uphill battle. So I like to work with things that are different. Evan Anthem was different from the sense like early on when they were doing stuff live. They brought out all these TVs and they were running video loops on the TVs before bands were ever doing screen stuff. They made it look like a living
Cool.
room. They had all this black and white stuff going on the screens, and it was a different type of show of what they were putting together. Um, Chasing Victory was kind of a different story where it was a mail-in demo, and we actually signed them to a developmental deal because they were still in high school when I signed them, and it was them to grow into something. But there was something in Adam's voice that I just really always gravitated towards. I thought it was different. And then when I saw them live for the first time, it was just the way the band performed dynamically, the way Adam, the lead singer, Michael, the guitar player, like the way they performed was just really different. And I thought that was just really cool. The Showdown was a song. Like I found a song on mp3.com and it sounded like Thrice, but Thrice wanting to become something else, like early Thrice, like Illusion. It was an Illusion of Safety record from Thrice, before Artist and Ambulance. And it just felt like there was something else. And then I got some demos from them, and it was like, oh no, this is full on Christian metal, which at the time, everybody in the metal scene was doing more of the Norma Jean thing, right? That was kind of the metal thing. Nobody, Living Sacrifice had broken up. Zaya was done. So Christian metal, Extol hadn't put out a record in a while. So nobody was doing like Christian death metal, like with lyrics, that kind of stuff. And the Showdown were doing that. And that really intrigued me. And it was Southern as heck. It was Pantera. Yeah. And so that was, again, something different and unique, and Maylene was just, it was Maylene. I don't know how, like, nobody that time thought Southern metal was going to like really do a thing. And then that record comes out and every record label under the sun had a Southern metal band,
Oh, yeah.
Leonard Skinner riffs with screaming, but Maylene was different. And Dallas's lyrics were just, the storytelling and the creativity of what he was doing was just, and the whole concept of Maylene and the Sons of Disaster and what he was weaving through everything was just different. So, I just thought that was unique. So I don't know. That's what I've always kind of lent myself to, is just to find something unique visually, something unique live, different songs. I don't know. That's just kind of what I've always kind of looked for. And that was before the data, right? The other thing that would have been back then would have been, are you playing a lot of shows? How willing, how committed are you to touring and playing in your region or in your state and things like that? So, yep.
Yeah. Dedication, sort of bandwidth for carving out their spot in a scene. But I love that because like I think you gave so many sort of diverse answers, but all of them make so much sense. Like whether it's unique show and stage presence, whether it's like singular sound, whether it's like carving out your own version of a thing in the Christian market that there's obviously a gap for and nobody else was doing it. Like you've sort of named like so many different reasons to sign a band, and I think for me like that explains why I always felt like Mono versus Stereo was such a hard to pin down, but like I don't know, like a celebratory label. To me, it was like always exciting to see what was coming out because it was like something like whatever it was going to be unique, was going to be ear catching, was going to be compelling, and none of it sounded the same. And that
Yeah.
was always what was so interesting to me, was that like basically it felt like everything was totally unique and inspiring and compelling on some level,
Yeah.
and was always going to be exciting.
Well,
And
thanks,
and
man.
there were no do-overs, you know. There were no like you said, no copies or clones of a sound or a band.
Yeah, I mean, some of that was kind of taken from Goatee's identity a little bit. Like I when I came to Goatee, and when they started the label, they started with four very different types of artists. It was an urban pop trio of sisters in Out of Eden. It was a hip hop duo in Grits. It was a rock band in Johnny Q. Public, and it was a reggae group called Christafari. And Goatee set themselves up from the beginning to be a label of all styles of music. It wasn't genre focused, and I learned that quickly early on. Like one summer in 2001, I went on a festival promotion circuit where we went out to Christian music festivals and promoted Goatee music. And we set up these big booths and people would come, and we had early MP3 players where you could listen to records in advance before they were coming out. And I quickly saw how like a person would come up to the booth and see Jennifer Knapp on a banner in Relient K and had no idea that those two artists were on the same record label. And so it was very educational for me because I was a fan of like Tooth and Nail and things like that, where it was all, or Deep Elm Records, which was all emo stuff out of the Northeast. And so it quickly helped educate me on, you can be fans of these artists, but not necessarily a fan of a label. And it's not always going to cross over a little bit, And so
Right.
I kind of wanted that from Mono versus Stereo. I wanted it to have a bit of alternative Christian music scene vibe to it, but I wanted to cover all genres, which was why I signed Gasoline Heart, because I just felt like Lewis, to me, D. Fabrizio is still one of my favorite songwriters I've ever worked with. That record is my all-time favorite record I've ever A&R'd. It's a classic record. It's called You Know Who You Are. And it could have come out in 1996. It came out in 2006, and it could come out right now, and there's nothing dated about it. It's just in my opinion, it's a great record because there's just great songs. It was a little bit ahead of its time in the way of like 2 years later, the Gaslight Anthem came out, and kind of all of a sudden Springsteen's like, what? American rock is back? And it's like, well, no, we put out this record by Gaslight Heart 2 years ago, and it's better.
Yeah, if you were paying attention.
They're both gas, guys. Come on.
So, there was just a lot of that thing. I was trying to sign a hip hop group not many people know about to Mono versus Stereo called Scratch Track. That was like this bluesy hip hop thing. Blues guitars, riffs with like a rapper over it, and it was awesome. So I wanted the label to represent all the different things that I liked, and was just trying to find different sonics for it, so yeah.
And I feel like that even continued once the sort of shift happened over to the Relient K guys, like running the label, like Deus Vale being on the label, like even that was like quite a jump. At least for me, I was like, oh really? Like,
yeah, well, that's
but
funny.
Why not?
Well, what's funny is like we actually tried to make that happen earlier. So I had an intern.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I had an intern at Mono versus Stereo in 2005, and named Mark Mattingly. He's a really good buddy of mine, and he interned with me when I was making a Last Tuesday record that Ethan Luck from the Supertones was recording, and Dan Spencer, and we were mixing it with Mark Lee Townsend, who had done Relient K records, Evan Anthem records. Back then in the early aughts, like there wasn't digital delivery, uploads and downloads for music. Like we were taking physical CDs to places. And so Mark Mattingly, my intern, would drive CDs of stuff to Mark Lee Townsend's house and back and forth. And he got to know Mark Lee Townsend, and people then went behind Mark in a good way to support him and create a new record label, which was Rambler Records at first, which had The Wedding and Days
New World.
New World. There was a period of time in 2007 when The Wedding put out Polarity that I just loved. I didn't love the first Wedding record, if I'm being honest, but I love Polarity. I thought that record was friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
And so we were in conversations of, they were kind of struggling. Could we take their records? Mark Townsend was making that record, and he was making the Birds and Cages record from Deus Vale.
Yeah.
And we had conversations to try to move their stuff over to Mono versus Stereo for a little bit. And then I actually quit the label right around that time. And then that's when the whole Relient K thing happened. But it was funny because those things were happening. They brought Deus Vale over. Feral Flight was a band that I had signed to Mono versus Stereo, made the record. When I quit, they left, went independent. Then Relient K brought them back to Mono versus Stereo. So there was already like a lot of, it was already intertwined anyways. You know what I mean?
Things in the works happening behind the scenes. Yeah.
It wasn't this thing. It was really just when that thing happened, it was really Reliant K had honored their agreement with Goatee. They made all their records for the label, and Goatee was like, "Look, Brad left. We've put all this money behind Monitor Stereo. You guys have always been supportive of it, taking the bands on the road, done projects for them. What if we give the label to you guys? You guys put your stuff out on it because you're always weirded out by the Goatee logo at times. Put your and some bands to it, and then the bands they ended up signing were bands that we were already in conversations with, or a record that we had already made. But it was cool, you know what I
Love
mean?
it.
And but it was fun. And so when I was gone for like about a year, and then I asked me to come back to Goatee, and then I was A&Ring Goatee stuff, and then doing marketing for Mono versus Stereo with Reliant K. So then I got to market all those records, even the record that I initially had made for Feral Flight and things like that. So it was a lot of fun. It was a full circle
That's
moment.
great. I'm glad there was the full circle part of it where you got to still kind of be connected to that and like keep the story going.
Yeah,
That's
and that
great.
Feral Flight record is one of my favorites too. It was originally called Sound Color Motion. I think they retitled it Out for Blood or something, but that record is really, really good. I wish we could have dropped it when we made it in the spring of '07. It was supposed to come out fall of '07. And I wish we could have made that happen. I think the timing on that hurt the record a little bit, but it was what I was going through personally. The label was uncoupling from their distribution deal from Capitol. There was a part ownership deal there that owned Goatee for a period of time. And so all that just created stuff, and that kind of stuff happens in the industry, like Reliant K's 5 Square record was originally supposed to come out in the fall of '06. Every year they'd always had something out in the fall, whether it was a full-length record or an EP, but Capitol and Virgin merged, and that delayed the record about 6 months until March of '07. So sometimes those things are just out of our control in the music industry.
I just wanted to take a second and talk about our sponsor for today, which is, of course, Collide Records. And I want to talk about 2 different pages on their website, the new releases and the pre-orders, which I like to go to just to peruse and just see what's coming out, what has recently come out, and what is also coming out. Because you know what? You can find, it's a great place, it's a great resource to find things that you may not have known are new releases coming out or new versions of things. So let's go through right now. Looking at new releases, I see immediately the Alchemy Index Volume 1 and 2 and Volume 3 and 4, which is the first time Thrice has ever released them as separate releases, which is really cool. And you can grab both of them at Collide Records right now. I would definitely recommend snagging those. And drilling down, I see that they have a Dead Throne vinyl from The Devil Wears Prada, which might be their best record, but you can grab this in a yellow glow stick. So once again, a record that's already been out, but a new variant is available that you can find as a new release. Now let's just jump over to the pre-orders. I want to see what's up. They have the new Paper Kites record that is coming out soon. If you go there, I hope you find it on vinyl and CD, which is also a great reminder of oh yeah, we got some new music coming out. I like the Paper Kites. They're really good. I'm looking forward to that record coming out soon. Looking down a little bit more, I didn't even know. This is just Collide Records keeping me abreast of new music. There's a new Mumford & Sons record coming out, which I was unaware of. And they have an autographed CD version that you can get for pretty cheap, which is pretty cool. You can have a Marcus Mumford autograph in your collection for pretty cheap. And it gets even cheaper when you use our promo code, which is Church Jams Now, to get 20% off your first order. There's a lot more to find and purchase at Collide Records for great deals, but I just wanted to highlight the new releases and the pre-orders page, which are always fun. Every now and then I like to just go through them just to see what's coming out, see what's going on, what there is to look forward to, and see if there's anything that I want to snag. Once again, use promo code ChurchJamsNow for 20% off your first order from colliderecords.com. You mentioned the Gasoline Heart record, and I saw that was recorded with Steve Albini.
Yeah.
And I would love to know just how did that come about? How did
One
you
of my
land
greatest, one of my biggest regrets is not going up to Chicago for the making of that record.
that? Oh, yeah.
Because I
get that.
felt like if I went up there, it was just going to be, at the time, that band was a party band. Like they were rowdy, and I just was like, if I go up there, this just might not be a good idea. And personally, and we had about 10 days with Steve Albini to make the record, and I think the guys he pushed him really, really hard. The cool thing about Steve that a lot of people don't know, and which he just passed away, like a year ago, I think it was. Like that.
Yeah. You're
was he did not want to be listed as a producer on a record, and he never took producer points. So like even on Nirvana's In Utero, he did not it does not say produced by Steve Albini. It says recorded and engineered by, and he did not take a producer royalty, which when he made that Nirvana record, that was kind of unheard of to do that. But he always carried that forward with whatever band he had made before that and after that. He never took extra money from the band. He got paid for the record and that was it. So
Wild.
Class act.
yeah, dude. Punk rock guy, man.
Yeah.
Straight out of Chicago, you know?
Yeah.
We were really stoked that he said yes to make the record. We just had to do it in a really short amount of time. I think it was 10 days.
Yeah, I think the record says it was like literally a week, like from March 28th to April 3rd. I was like, that is a quick turnaround.
Crazy.
Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. The only thing that happened was when we made that record, the mixes that Steve had done there at the studio were just really, they were really raw and really rough. And so there was a guy coming up under Matt Goldman in Atlanta. What was the name of that studio? Glow in the Dark Studios or something?
Glow in the Dark. Yep.
Yeah, and a guy named Matt Malpass, who now does stuff for like MGK and Travis Barker and like all kinds of stuff. And Matt mixed that record for me. Called him. He did it for super cheap. But he helped kind of just polish it a bit more and just kind of tie it all together. And I think that's why that record has that sound, is just that it was recorded super raw, super live in the studio. And then Matt was able just to kind of bring it all together on a mix level, which is why I think that record sounds awesome. So, yep.
No, it does sound very timeless,
Nice.
like you were talking about.
Yeah. And I love those kind of records, you know, that they're not dated by the sound, you know, they sound great. And that's just a great record. And songwriting is just incredible. Lewis was really going through a lot of stuff personally. And that's when you have that happen in your life. I mean, the best Line K records are some of the stuff that Matt was really going through a lot of stuff personally. And he wrote some of his best songs that way. And it's the what happens when you're a songwriter, right? Your life impacts your songwriting. And when you're going through a lot of stuff, that's usually when your best art happens, you know?
That's true.
Yep.
True.
Mm-hmm.
So how sort of connected to the process? Because like, you know, if, in this case, if you weren't up there with them, but we're asking about it, it's like, I don't want to waste our time by asking about more that like maybe you weren't on the scene for, but like how connected to the process were you for when Reliant K was working on that?
Yeah. So in that
putting
one,
out.
yeah. So in that one, I was an A&R admin. So I was in charge of just, you know, pulling together all the administrative responsibilities for that record and things like that. That record was made in 2 stages. So, you know, the band had come off 2 lefts. I mean, Matt was just an insane songwriter. He still is. And he just at a volume. They were always over delivering on their records. They always had music in the marketplace before that was a thing, right? Like they just always were. Every year there was something out. And
Cranking it out, yeah.
in that record, he was going through some personal stuff. He was going through some breakups and wrote some friggin' awesome songs. And the record was done in 2 stages. It was the first time that they hadn't tracked with Mark at Mark's so during that time, Mark Lee Townsend, who was in Ohio, you know, we were making all the records in Canton in Mark's house in his living room, which is where he first have an Anthem record. And Mark moved to Nashville. And so for that record, it was the first one where we didn't have Mark's house. And Mark was still building out his studio at his house. And so it was the first time we really spent money at Goatee on one of their records. All their earlier records were made so cheap. And it was the first one we spent.
Which is crazy because they sound great. Like you know, those early records, like, I don't know. Mark's just
It's almost like that Mark guy. I mean, he might go somewhere someday.
Oh, dude.
Yeah,
who knows?
He's probably headed somewhere.
Yeah,
he's a good dude, man.
He's the best. He's the best. We've had him on the show, and
Dude, he's so good.
I think he sent us an
We
email
love that guy.
on Christmas, right, Josh?
It was New Year's.
Or New Year's.
Oh, did he?
sent us an
Need to
email.
get back to
I
him.
love
Yeah.
that.
He's music nerd, man.
Sweet.
Nerd.
I know.
Nerd.
Yes.
I love him. I mean, and again, he was one of those early champions for me and for the record label. And I owe a lot to Mark Lee Townsend because he's just one of those guys that always over delivers because he has an incredible work ethic and wants to serve artists and the people he's partnering with so well. And he has a high bar. And that's hard to find. You know what I mean? In reality, you know, some guys just check and Mark's not that. So, but yeah, man, that record was made in 2 stages. Brian left the band and that was a big part of it, the bass player. And that was why the record kind of got split into 2 sections. And then that happens and Matt goes and writes, which to bury us with a hatchet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just that, yeah. So, yeah, but that record is awesome. You know, that the thing that's crazy about that record, we made that record at Goatee and they'd always major labels were always kind of sniffing around the band during Anatomy and Two Lefts because things were they were selling out venues like crazy, and in 2003 when they kind of it was their first major headlining tour. I mean, '02 we did a tour with Bleach and Holland and Fillmore, and that tour was cool. It was small clubs, but in '03 it was like big rooms in the fall of '03, and it was the Everybody Wants to Rule the World tour, and it was with Amberlin's. That was Amberlin's first major tour, and then they took out Evan Anthem from Mono vs. Stereo, and that tour was bonkers. And it was big rooms. It was Electric Factory in Philly, it was the Newport in Columbus, Ohio, and Bogarts in Cincy. I mean, it was just big rooms, and that tour kind of turned people's heads in the industry, other labels and things like that. And so even on Two Lefts, major labels were kind of sniffing around the band a little bit. We'd done some mainstream radio push, made a big video for Chapstick, but something hadn't clicked yet, and it was the songs. And then Matt and Goes writes, and that record was slated for November 2nd, '04, I believe, and I think it was mid-October. We had the record all done, packaging, everything was turned into distribution. And like a few weeks before the record comes out, Capitol's like, we want the record. We want to pick it up. So the first actual week pressings of that record only have the Goatee logo on it. But by the second or third week in stores, all of a sudden then the Capitol logo was on it with Goatee as well. And they moved pretty quick. They went to radio in the top of 2005. And then they put them out on the Good Charlotte Simple Plan tour, I think, in the spring of 2005. And that was a game, So
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my question was you talked about the two parts. How far apart were those?
It wasn't far. It was like,
do you know?
It was like May and August maybe or something like that. April or May was
okay.
Most of it. And then we mixed the majority of it. And then I think the back half was like July or August. It wasn't a huge gap. And that was the first one.
That's nothing.
Money on someone else to mix. We brought in one of I can't remember if it was Chris Lord Alge or Tom Lord Alge, but one of them mixed 3 songs on the record, Yeah. And that was the first time we'd spent like serious money to try to get someone big to mix it. Because Jared McNeely was phenomenal. He had mixed the first thing he ever mixed for the band was the Christmas record,
Yeah.
We went back and we mixed the first couple records, and JR's incredible, and those things sound badass. So
he's great. So I have a question.
Yeah.
I would like to hear potentially your biggest, what do you see as, in the time specifically with Mono versus Stereo, your sort of biggest win, or whether that's like a signing or a release or something that you still hold dear as yes, this is my crowning achievement with this, and also potentially what would you say is your biggest whiff? What is your biggest L?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I tell artists actually, when I talk to artists nowadays, I say when you go into a record label, you should ask them what they think their greatest strength is and ask what their weakness is. If they can't tell you what their weakness is, you should walk away. So you should have this kind of honest conversations with people you're going to partner with, especially if you're going to give money to,
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Success, man. I mean, just having the record label was a huge thing. I mean, I don't know, just growing up a kid in music and just being able to do that, and for the ownership of Goatee to give me that opportunity was just huge. It was a dream come true. Even to sign the first band, the Evan Anthem, and have my name in a record that I A&R'd, hired producers. That whole process was that was a dream come true. So that was a huge. That was a huge moment, man. I'll take it for granted. I think,
especially at 25, right? I'm still just reeling from that. That's incredible, Brad.
And I pitched it in 2002. So yeah, I was 24 when I pitched the idea in the summer of. I remember meeting with Joey in his car, and then I went to Creation West because I was doing festival promotions for Goatee, and went backstage to pitch the idea to Toby at Creation West in the Gorge, Washington, and yeah, I mean, that was just a dream come true. And so super grateful. That's a huge highlight. It was just that very first release as far as a band. Because, the first MVS release was this compilation, but the first actual band and what we were trying to do was a big deal. But Maylene and Showdown definitely had some things the Showdown, when I signed them, they weren't really sure if they could be a national touring band. And so to go from a band in 2004 where we did their first ever national tour where I took them and Chasing Victory, and then I worked with Flicker Records, and they went out with a band called Staple and Mortal Trees, and we did this tour together. To go from that in the fall of '04, and then by the summer of 2007, they were on Ozfest with friggin' Lamb of God, and I think it was Ozzy they had headlined that year.
I think so. I think Josh? I think David told us about that.
I think he did talk.
I think
about
I
it,
think he
yeah.
talked about that. Yeah.
I mean, that was just wild. You know, we had sponsorships from Jägermeister. It was like there was a review of the record in Playboy magazine. I mean, it was just like,
Hell yeah, that's amazing.
go from like, you know, we want to make this first record, we want to play shows, but we don't know if we can do it nationally, to really January, February of '07, they were touring internationally in Europe with Norma Jean, and then summer of '07, they're on Ozfest. That was just, to me, that was quick.
Yeah.
So to see that kind of, now again, for them, you know, it was hard because there were bands that were coming out during that window that hit it faster and quicker. Like there was bands on Solid State and Tooth and Nail that definitely had a quicker ascent. But to see that and really to be able to step back and be like, guys, in 3 years, this is what we did. This is pretty friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
Was a huge highlight.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The Maylene thing was cool just because it was just like, everybody's like, what the hell is this? You know,
Right.
like,
Oh, it completely took over. Yeah.
I mean, it was just, I gave that record to so many people and they were just like, what is this? I mean, I had to play a sales conference with Marty Stewart at Capitol, and everybody's like, what in the world is going on?
Oh my God. I would kill to be there for that.
But that was also one of the biggest whiffs because I made a huge mistake where that was I always tell this to young people in the music industry, especially A&Rs, like at some time you've got to get your heart broken, and it's got to be broken hard in order for you got to put some calluses on it to have a career in music. And Maylene broke my heart hard. Like I made a mistake where I think we can talk about it now about the guys, but like we had a kind of a handshake deal on that first record because at the time my label was Monovision Stereo was so small that we were going through Capitol for contracts. And so it would take a long time. And I wanted to get the record made. I wanted to get it out. I wanted to get them on fall tour. So we did a handshake deal to make the record and get it out. And within a month of the record coming out, the band was like, we want to be somewhere else. And I didn't even have a contract. So I had a record out in the marketplace with a contract. And so that band, all of a sudden, then all the record labels that did not care about Southern metal were sniffing and Ferret grabbed them. And so we were able to kind of work out a deal where we had some points and some stuff on the second record, but that sucked. And that was a big learning lesson, you know?
Yeah.
But it happened.
That was one of my questions. Why the Ferret MVS?
That was hard.
Release.
I went on vacation in December of '05. The record had been out for a couple months. I come back in January and I get a phone call from a member in the band, and he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna go elsewhere." And I was like, "Dude, I was devastated." Because I just put him on that tour with Showdown. I'd already gotten him on the POD. They were doing those kind of every so often they were doing this tour, and there was a name to it, and I can't remember it for the life of me. But POD took him out on tour, had that locked in. Pretty much had him locked in for Warped Tour already and stuff. And then, the band, they got a manager. We had a manager in town that was working with them and who was a great local promoter. She was awesome, and she was working with the band. And then they got rid of her too. And they got this guy that used to manage Kid Rock, and he just saw dollar signs and took him to Ferret and got in advance. And
that is such a bummer.
Yeah, that was tough. But learned a massive lesson. Don't go and don't release a record unless you got a contract.
Yeah. I mean, that's wow. That's fascinating.
That was tough. That one sucked because the band did really well on that first record. And
but I love that, Brett. I love that your answer sort of like your win, like as you're listing like big wins, like Maylene came up really early, and that was like I can tell I could tell from your voice, like you were excited about it, and I can tell you meant it. Yeah. And then that segued really naturally into your biggest whiff. Like I think that's kind of beautiful, actually, that it was like kind of both. And you know, I'm sure there's no love lost, but it's just like you said, it's a lesson. Yeah, you learned a good lesson. Yeah, and I mean,
it was really great.
Incredible.
A couple at Furnace Fest when Maylene reunited, I did not get a chance to talk to Dallas. I hadn't seen him in a long time. I was just glad he was there. You know, after his massive accident, it was just great. It was an emotional show for all of us there. Yeah. Them. But, you know, the original band that backed him up then was not part of the band now.
Correct. Yeah.
Those guys were there, and they all came up to me. We had it was a good moment together, just seeing each other, and it was great. Those guys said some really kind words, and it was awesome. But it was just emotional seeing Dallas on stage. Like
oh yeah,
like he's of
course
front man. I mean, there's no other way around it, and I'm just glad he's okay.
Yeah,
so.
Me too.
Totally.
Yeah, definitely. Man,
Man.
that was a good question, Kylan. I
It
learned
was.
a lot.
Thanks.
Well, I'm glad to know. I'll have to tell Roman, hey, did you know you're Brad Moist's biggest L?
I actually ran into
he would love that.
I ran into him last spring at outside the Deftones show in Nashville. It was great.
Oh, nice.
Okay,
Nice.
he would be there.
He would.
Yeah.
He would.
But like
That's
Lee,
right.
I keep in touch with Lee quite a bit on socials and stuff, and I've seen him we were down at Furnace Fest the other year, and I was watching college football with him at the merch table. It was great.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So,
That's awesome.
I mean, that's the thing. Honestly, dude, it's like at the end of the day, there's some bands that like Chase and Victory and the Showdown, we still have a really great relationship. And that to me is the thing I'm most grateful about is like
Except for Chris, right? We've got a problem with Chris. No, we've got beef with Chris.
Man. We got
beef with Chris.
I'm starting beef with Chris.
Yeah,
He's the worst, right? Everyone else is great. We've had them all on the show. Everyone but Chris.
Love those
Well,
guys.
one of my questions was
not
going to
Chris.
be if you had to kick one person out of Chasing
Out of
Victory,
Chasing
who would
Victory.
it be?
Who would it be, and why would it be Chris?
do you know Chris's nickname? We're talking about Cargill, not Crutchfield, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cargill's nickname?
No.
Ape Tit.
Oh my god.
What?
I don't know why.
We're not going to follow it up.
It's for the SNL Jeopardy,
No,
probably.
yeah.
I
No
hope at
explanation.
least it's that,
Yeah.
but maybe not. I don't know.
I love those guys, man.
We do too.
And that's my thing is like I have a group text with them. I've got a group text with the Showdown, and I just I love those dudes. Like Chase and Victory guys are some of the best just dudes on the planet, like best men, best husbands, best fathers. And that's what I love. And also, like to answer the other win question is like they did a reunion show. I think it was like in 2010, and it was to raise money so Adam and Katie could adopt a daughter. And when they did that, that was the big thing where I was just like, man, like a band that I signed off a Maylene demo could have a bit of a career. The fact that they could reunite and people would care and have a show so they could raise money to change someone's life, like literally change that girl's life.
Right.
I don't take lightly. And I think that's I'm so humbled to be even a part of a story like that. And
No, that's awesome.
I think it's really, really cool. And that's a testament to who those guys are and to the music they made, to impact people, that those people come to a show to raise money so they could adopt a child. That's just incredible.
Yeah.
So.
And they made Fiends, which is such a good record.
Oh my god.
So
Badass.
Such a good
I say
record.
badass a
So
lot.
good.
Hopefully I can say that on this thing.
Oh,
but
for sure. For sure.
Absolutely.
I
Oh,
say
yes.
much worse on a
That's
regular
right.
basis.
No, that's an incredible record, man. That again, game changer,
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
time. No, like I've told the story on a couple podcasts or if not, but like Matty Mullins from Memphis Mayfire, he lives not too far from me and was over at his house one night and that record came up in conversation and he put two and two together that I worked on that and he freaked out and started playing. He's like, dude, this is the record that taught me how to sing, like that I could not just but sing. And then Jordan by and he's like, dude, this was a record that was influential like this. And I was like, what? And it was just a wild moment. And then I found some article that Ollie from Bring Me the Horizon said the same thing, that record changed how he viewed recording and vocals and things like that. And I was like, that's the nuts, man. Like,
yeah, I saw some tweet about it from him, but yeah, you just don't know who it's going to impact out there.
Yep.
It's so cool. Yeah.
And those records, when the band's recorded here in Nashville, like I was in the studio for a lot of those records. And even when Maylene was making the record in Birmingham, I went down for a lot of that. And even the Evan Anthem first record up in Ohio, I was up there for almost all of that. I think the Gasoline Heart record, honestly, might have been like the one record that I couldn't make it to the studio because it was Chicago, and it was just, I was busy with that. But, yeah.
Okay, so for those, do you have any stories? Do you have any dirt? Do you have any like ridiculous moments? Do you have any touching moments? Like, spill the tea, man. Let's go. Get it out there.
I mean, there's all kinds of fun stuff. I mean, I don't know, like Jason Victory was making I Call This Abandonment with the producer. And one morning the producer woke up, went out to his Jeep, and there was a pile of poop in the driver's seat. And
What?
And
Wild.
he swore someone in the band had pooped in the driver's seat of the Jeep, and
Sure.
the band swore up and down they didn't do it. I believed them. I think it was like, man, it was years later where they finally fessed up and were like, yeah, it was. I mean, I don't remember. I wish I could remember who from the band.
It was Chris. It
Took
was
a
Cargo.
crap.
It
Had to have been Chris.
It had to have been
Took a
him.
crap. They spawned. It's like, no, that was an animal because we kind of lived by some trees and things like that. And I never saw it, so I didn't know.
That's funny.
But I remember the producer was pissed. Oh, he was pissed. And he should have
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, I would be
rightfully
too.
So, yeah.
been.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that's one. They were fun. I mean, they were young. It was just a lot of fun. Showdown, we had some really good moments when we were making the Temptation record out in Memphis. We went to Beale Street a lot.
Nice.
And I tried to really not the scene back then in like drinking was not what it is now. Like it's, you can go to Furnace Fest and there's beers everywhere and everybody's, back in the early aughts, that wasn't a thing,
Right.
And so I remember it was a big deal. We went to Beale Street and we just went to some bar and we got a bunch of Blue Moons, which I don't know why we got Blue Moons. And it just felt like, are we allowed to do this? Like, it's
Just
just
like looking over your shoulder.
yeah, I know. I do remember one time they had stopped by the office and they weren't making the record, but we got the offer for the Blindside tour in the summer of 2005, and we celebrated by going out and buying a case of like, I don't know, it was like Bud Light or Miller Lite, and went back to my house and just drank a whole bunch of Miller Lights. And one of the guys in the band was having such a good time, he decided to mow my yard, so that was funny.
At night.
I don't know, bro, because I left work early. I was like, we just got a Blindside tour, we're going out.
I'm feeling so good, guys. I gotta mow a yard.
We were
Right
day
now.
drinking at like noon, and someone was mowing my yard at like 3:00 in the afternoon.
That's how you know they're a Southern band.
Dude,
Yeah,
those were-
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
There's some good old boys right there.
Yeah, they are.
One time people were like, "You're talking about drinking a lot," anyways. But like no, I'm not gonna tell the story. It's fine.
Oh, come on. We can cut it. You can tell it, and then if you want to cut it, just text us later.
So because I did a lot with different festivals, partnered a lot with Purple Door, and then partnered a lot with Cornerstone, Florida. Because Tooth and Nail owned Cornerstone in Illinois, the main one. So I was trying to do a lot of stuff with Cornerstone, Florida, and went down for one of them. And I was trying to remember. I got a text from. I'm trying to remember what band it was. No, it was definitely the Showdown. I just don't remember from who. And all it was a picture of the bathtub in the hotel full of like Bud Light, like just like full. I was like, okay, this is gonna be a fun night. This is gonna be a good time.
That's so
So
good.
Crucial question for you, Brad. Was there ice or was it just
Oh,
Just
yes,
dry
that is
beers.
important.
I'm sure there's probably some ice in there, but maybe not. So
I would
I
just
love
Just
that.
full of.
yeah, I know.
if not, that's a rookie mistake,
I
especially
know.
with that.
I know. It was awesome. I just remember being like, oh, and I was
That's very funny.
me and the sales guy had a monitor stare. We were out to dinner with Gasoline Heart. That's what it was. We were out to dinner with Gasoline Heart in Orlando, Florida, and having a good time with the Gasoline Heart guys because they had a
just
good time.
saying Gasoline Heart in Orlando, Florida.
Oh,
This
bro.
story could go anywhere.
Anywhere.
So many good times with Lewis and John Fort's CD release party for them, where we had a great show at the Red Light, and or back booth. It was a back booth, and then we went to this bar afterwards to celebrate, and they were playing all Motown stuff, and that's still one of my favorite memories. Is definitely a few drinks in and just jamming to like Motown with John Fortson, who had been in Squad 5
Right.
in Gasoline Heart, and just like the look
Yeah.
on his face and the smile. We're just having a great time. It was awesome.
Proven.
That's the best.
But yeah, no, I was out to dinner with my sales guy and with Gasoline Heart, and I just on my flip phone, I get a photo of the Showdown's hotel room with a whole bunch of beer in the bathtub. I was like,
I mean, I think that speaks to your relationship. If they're like, "Hey, let's tell the
label A&R guy. Yeah.
our A&I and label head.
Yeah.
Send them this picture.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a good time. I mean,
That's amazing.
That's why I love those guys, man. Like, I mean it with all sincerity. Like the fact that I have a relationship with Lewis still to this day, the Showdown guys, Chase guys. Like like even this weekend, like with Nashville, I'm going to see Rustin Kelly at the Ryman. I love that guy.
Yeah.
And Matt Miller, who was in the Evan Anthem, who lives in Charleston now. He's coming up, and I'm going to see him at the show. We were texting about it today. So I love that. So
I don't know.
Nice.
To kind of tie it back, I feel like unwittingly, Brad, you kind of over the course of this conversation answered TJ's question early on when he was asking, like, what was the thing you were looking for in terms of bands? I feel like everything you're telling us is is a real testament to the community that you created. It
That
seems
relationship
because
is
we've talked
just as much a part of it.
because we've talked to like the Chasing Victor guys a couple times. We've talked to a couple people that have been that have interacted with Mono versus Stereo
AJ,
and with
House of
you,
the Heroes.
yeah, and yeah, it everyone's like a good dude, right? Like, and that it seems like you sort of fostered this community regardless of like genre or whatever. So it wasn't necessarily that. It was just like I feel like you guys. This is the part of the show where I gas the guest up. It
Gasoline heart up the
Gasoline
Yeah.
Heart, the guest up.
Yeah.
it really seems like you were able to see something beyond just the music, and were able to foster a community of people that just want to like make good shit and like have a good time,
Yeah.
and like are good
Mhm.
people
And support each
So,
other along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, man. I mean, life's about community, and so I believe in the power of community. I believe in the body of Christ. I believe in the power of community. I believe in what it can do for people in challenging and encouraging and being there for you, being compassionate, all those things. And artists are part of that too. I mean, music is such a powerful vehicle to, I mean, just all the things, right? To just like have a outlet, to have comfort, to have encouragement. Music does that, and the people that create that can be that as well for yourself. So, when we've all, I went through a massive change last year by leaving Goatee after 24 years. And when I told the Chase and Victor guys in the Showdown, they were so supportive and in so many ways and encouraging, because I didn't know what was next. I didn't know. I wanted to stay in music, but I didn't know what that was going to be like. And I was scared. And especially when I'm almost 48 and you're trying to make a career change and trying to figure out what's next, it was tough. And
Yeah.
those guys would check in on me, and it meant a lot, and that doesn't come without foundational relationships and community. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
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 That stuff's
No, that's-
important.
Well, and it's what's inspiring to me too is that like your whole story, kind of the beginning stages. Like, I mean, let's be real. Part of it is you're just a go getter, Brad. Like, to kind of like parlay your way from like a Christian music store gig to a radio gig to an internship with a label to running your own label. Like, that's badass, man. Like, we just gotta give you your full credit. But I also want to just point out that, like, I think a part of the story, correct me if I'm wrong, but a part of the story is you were given an opportunity and you saw that, and it was modeled for you well, right? Because they were like, yeah, man, this guy's gonna take it and run, and you did. And so you continued to do that and give opportunities to others rather than gatekeeping, right? Because the music industry can be, full of sharks, and it can be a weird place, and a tough place to exist in. And like you said, you got to like have that thick skin. But at the same time, I think you're an open-hearted guy, and I think you saw people be that way and give opportunities to you, and then you continue to like pass the buck and pass the torch on to others. And so I'm sure that's still what's happening in your life and with your relationships and with the opportunities that present themselves to you in the way that you can extend that to others. So that's the through line I'm seeing, and I'm just gasoline hearting you up
Yeah.
all day.
Thank you.
That's what we're gonna call it from now on.
Yeah. Gasoline. Yeah.
That's a good one. I mean, I love, I mean, I love people. I love relationships. I love community. I'm a very straightforward guy. I'm direct. I'm very trusting, I have no other way but to be honest. You know what I mean? But I care genuinely about artists, and I don't view it as a thing for me. I want to see the artist win. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, that's really what I care about. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, I want to see them succeed. Someone even asked me today, I was meeting with a manager and he's like, what do you ultimately like to do? And I was like, I love creating goals with an artist. If they in 12 or 18 months want to be someplace and then we actually jot that down and we can cross that off that we've done that, that's like my favorite thing is just crossing off things that they have. It's not my goals. Like I'm not making the music. Like they have
Right.
to have these goals. It's our jobs in the record business, whether it's a manager or a record label, to come along and support their efforts. The best artists that succeed are the ones that are driven by what they want to do. If they can come in and
Yep.
set the tone, then they're the ones that are going to have successful careers. If a record label is having to pull the record out of an artist or pull the meetings out of them or pull the album title, which I had to do many times, I had to come up with an album title for artists. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
You have to have an artist that's driven and
Mhm.
do it. And they have to be objective and not comparative. And that's a big thing. Is like you can be sorry, you can they need to be competitive but not comparative. Like you need to fight and want to eat and do well, but not be so much that you're comparing yourself to others because you're just going to end up being jaded. You know,
Yeah. Mm.
Mhm.
ones that are driven,
Well said.
ones that can be objective, the ones that become competitive and not comparative, that can set the tone and drive everything. Those are the ones that usually do well. You know,
Yeah. Makes
I just
sense.
love
Yep.
working alongside those kind of people. You
I
know,
love that.
all genres.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, Brad, we don't want to take up too much of your time, so I'm gonna open the floor.
Good.
Maybe I don't know if we have one or two more questions.
Go
I
for it.
have one.
Of course you do, Josh. You
I
always
do.
You
I have more,
Get
but
it
I can
out
limit
there,
it to
buddy.
just
Fine,
one.
do it.
Okay. Well, hey,
Every
let's
time I
let.
do one of these, I do think about stuff after. I'm like, oh, so I should have talked about this, or this was funnier.
Well, how about this? How about
Send
this?
us a clip. We'll put it in.
Let's do one more question from Josh. But Brad, you have an open invitation. If you think of anything, message us, and you're welcome to come on any fucking time.
Cool, man.
Come
Thanks,
back
man.
on. So,
Yeah, we'd love it.
yeah. All right, Josh, what you got?
Exactly. Okay. I do want to talk to Dave about this eventually, but I also want to hear it from like your side, from like the label side of things, about the Temptation record.
Yeah.
Because there's the whole sound change. There's so much with this record that we could talk about, but there's like this big sound change. There's the cover, but I also want to know about like, because you had to do multiple like separate versions because of the first track, Fanatics and Whores, like wasn't in Christian bookstores. So I was like, I'm just curious how that came about and like how you handled it, if you knew that was going to be an issue, and just like the whole like the label backstory to all of that happening.
Yeah, it's always funny. Like I saw something on some, music thing recently, and they were actually dogging the label about something. And I was like, hey, hit me up and talk to me if you want to say something. It was just some fan that was like making some comment that the label screwed over some band or something like that. And I was like, yeah, probably not. Like, just call me, we'll talk.
Yeah, let's talk it out.
And but like, with the Showdown on Temptation, they had gone through a lot on the first record, and they'd gotten to it with a management company called I think they were called ESU or Blood Company out of New York. And those guys had managed, like, they were managing Norma Jean and Emery. And at that time, there was just a lot of push, from first to last. They just gotten the first like $1 million deal advance from a major label. And Emery had gotten an offer and they turned it down, thinking they needed more. And then things changed, and then the deal wasn't there, and they were pissed, and if I remember in the journey correctly. But anyways, the Showdown had gone through a lot where they were touring really hard. They were playing a lot of shows, and they didn't feel like the revenue was coming in to what they wanted, And so on the Temptation record, there was a big push to work with Paul Ebersole, the producer, who was awesome, but to really go into a more like mainstream sound, you know what I mean? And that was their call. And I supported it. I think they needed to grow. In hindsight, I kind of wish that, because a lot of the songs on Backbreaker, they were writing around the same time that I was working with them. I kind of wish that Backbreaker had come after, of course, their Obliterate.
It would have made more sense, like sound development wise.
And when that record was Temptation was being made, I pushed them a lot to like, and the thing was, on the first record, David was discovering how he could sing. Like on a lot of the songs on Chorus, he just screamed them because he was struggling with how to sing. Because every time he would sing, it came off sounding, because he's a punk fan, it came off sounding like early Thrice. And so when he didn't like that, he would just default to singing. Paul helped him find a way to have that, like that James Hetfield yell when he sings. The problem on Temptation was like he just defaulted to doing that on almost the whole majority of the record. Whereas on Backbreaker, there's a bit more of a balance, I think, on all of that, But the beauty, I think, about Temptation is I think it's the best of the guitar playing with Travis and Josh's styles. Like Travis being this 80s metal influence on the solos, influenced by Stryper and by Poison, and then Josh being influenced by European death metal. That record, I think the guitar solos and the guitar work are just phenomenal. And there's still stuff even on a chorus that are bonkers and really represent that. But that's kind of the backstory in Temptation was there was a push from management and from the band to just go after mainstream alternative radio. And so that was the driving force for the sonics on that record a little bit. And to get some major label interest, but I supported him on it. You know what I mean? It wasn't a cheap record. JR killed the frickin' mix. It sounds awesome. I think it still sounds happy as hell. The cover was like we actually just talked about this. It's funny. It came up at a meeting at Integrity Music this week at Caleb, actually. It came up at a meeting at Caleb. He's like, didn't you do a photo shoot with the Showdown where you buried them in snakes? And I was like, yeah, it was awesome. We took him out to a thing in Nashville, buried them in snakes. We laid them on the ground and buried them in snakes. We knew the record was going to be called Temptation Come My Way. And so we had this whole concept around snakes. Well, then literally we do the photo shoot. We need to add some new songs to the record. So we pushed the record back to February of 2007. It was supposed to come out fall 2006 for a tour with Pillar and Day of Fire. And the Showbread dropped the record.
Age of Reptiles.
Yeah.
Reptiles.
And we were like crying out. And so,
they beat you to it, huh?
Yeah. And so the band felt like we couldn't use the snake photo shoot.
Because they're all holding that one big snake on the back cover of that CD too.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Big boa,
I think it leaked some of those. So we did a photo shoot, the guys buried in snakes, and then we did one where they held this massive boa constrictor, all the guys in the band, and we felt like we couldn't use it.
That's so funny.
That Andrew had quit, the drummer had quit, and AJ Barrett from Still Remains had come in, and so it was also like, well, now we got a new drummer. Showbread did this thing. We should probably just do a new photo shoot. And then the album cover just became this Black Album ripoff of, Metallica with the, but anyways.
Dude, we got to get Josh on and tell him about that.
Which Josh?
I think he'll
Josh
get a
dies.
kick out of it. Josh dies, yeah.
Have you read his book,
Order.
How It Dies?
Which one?
No, the one which one? He just put out a book last year called How It Dies, and it's really cool. I really enjoy it.
How to Die or something? I just got it for Christmas.
Or How It Dies.
I haven't read it yet.
No, I have notes I keep notes of things I read and booked and write them down, and I just probably butchered his book title. But
I think it's How to Die.
How to Die. You're right.
Yeah.
No.
How to Become Josh Dies.
But yeah, How to Become
That's what
Josh
it is,
Dies.
right?
Exactly. But yeah, so did you like know that the first song title was like going to be like an issue with the Christian bookstores that you'd have to do two different versions? Or
on the record, I thought it was a great opening track, and then like probably like a month or two before, Christian Retail was like, yeah, we can't do that, and I was like, oh. So we had to take it off, and the record had to just open up with Head Down, right? Head Down.
Head Down. Yep, that's it.
Song. And it was unfortunate. The band was pissed, but I was like, what do you want to do? You want to say no to the money that's going to come in from those units? Like, we know we're going to ship 10,000 units to Christian bookstores. Are we just going to say no? No, we can't, and it was unfortunate, but that's why we tried to create all the different bonus tracks. Best Buy had an additional song, and we did a download of a different song somewhere else and stuff. So we were trying to find a way to make up for that. But yeah, that sucked, but it happens,
Okay.
Yeah. So when a major distribution and bookstore chain's like, we're not going to carry it because of this. I mean, you can't.
Right. You can't.
What can you do? I'm not going to not put in stores. And honestly, we didn't really think that majority of fans were going to buy it there. By that time, with all the deals that were going on with Best Buy and stuff, we thought the majority of the fan base was going to buy the record at Best Buy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did, because I was like,
I was
well,
going to
I get
say,
an extra
Josh, where
song
did you
and
buy it? Yeah.
I got an extra song and it's cheaper at Best Buy. So,
Yeah.
and like where I would go, the stores were almost next to each other. So I would like go to Family Christian Bookstore, and then if I didn't like the price, I'd just walk over to Best Buy and just buy it. So like they did lose that sale basically.
I mean, you're right. It did really, if you think about it, it had two extra tracks, because they had the opening track and then it had the download of Snakes in the Grass or something like that. So
Yeah.
But yeah, and the thing is, back then, I'm sure you guys had people talk about it. We had to pay for those end caps at Best Buy. It was like $20,000. You know what I mean? To have those displays and have the record feature and all that kind of stuff. So
That's wild.
yeah, those were expensive
Wow.
and
I
partnerships.
love that.
Crazy times.
All right. Well,
Man.
unfortunately, I think we're going to have to start wrapping this up, everybody. I know.
That just means we got to have Brad back, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Round
So
two.
Brad,
Any last minute things you're curious about, or
sorry, your auto zoom just zoomed in right when you did that, and it felt very like sitcom moment. It was very like Curb Your Enthusiasm. Okay, lightning round.
I do have one final question.
Lightning round. Of course you do, Josh.
Okay.
What you got?
Who wins, mono or stereo?
Ooh.
Yeah.
stereo? Unless you're listening to the Beatles, and mono wins.
Boom.
Okay. Good answer.
Good answer.
That's funny. I actually
Wow.
just listened to my wife has both a mono and a stereo pressing of Rubber Soul by the Beatles, and I listened to them both back to back like yesterday. And yeah, I think you're right. All
Mono.
right, that
Beatles.
was
Mono. That's how it was all intended to be.
Way to own it.
that's right. That's
Way
right.
to own it.
Well done.
Brad, is there anything else you want to leave our listeners with? Is there anything like do you want to talk about what you're doing at Integrity now? Do you want people to follow you online? Do you want people to leave you alone? What are we doing? What's up?
I mean, all my socials are private. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not trying to build a platform or anything like that. So
I get it. Leave them alone, guys.
And against those that do,
Leave him alone.
nobody's bugging me like that.
Except for us.
Just
Thank
us.
you.
It's all good. I love music, and so after last year of leaving a company after 24 years, it was tough, but I really wanted to stay in music. I wanted to stay in faith-based music. I wanted to stay at an independent record label. I didn't want to go into a major label system, and so in our world, there's only a few of those record labels that exist like that anymore.
Right.
And Free Music was really kind and kept calling me and wanted to talk. And they started in 1987, so in 2027 they'll be around for 40 years. And if people don't know a lot about Integrity, but Hosanna Music and Don Moen and a lot of early worship stuff came out of Integrity Music. But they're a global company, and they have an incredible impact in the church. But also they brought in a new CEO a couple years ago. They brought a new president, who's the guy who hired me, and they're really trying to do some things different. And some of the signings that they did the last couple years are trying to move more in the contemporary space. Some of the freedom they're giving me right now to go after some things will be very different if some of the things work out. So I'm really excited about that. So I'm just grateful that I can still be in music.
Yeah.
To me, success is doing what you love and providing for yourself and your family, and I get to do that, and so I'm truly grateful.
That's awesome.
And I don't take that for granted. So, yeah, man, I'm just excited to still be doing music, and honestly, like I said earlier, to have relationships with artists I've worked with in those communities. Like, even just like I posted something last night about the radio charts in 1996, and that was my senior year in high school, and it was 30 years ago today. It was like a modern rock chart, and it was like Wonderwall was #1, and Joe from Beloved hit me up and he's like, dude, it was just a time, wasn't it? I was like, yeah, man. And so it's that kind of stuff, like having correspondence with Joe, because like I'm a huge Beloved fan. I freaking love Advent. Joe is such a good dude, man of the Lord, like just an awesome, like, and there are people in worship music. A lot of guys don't know this, but like working with some worship artists at Integrity and other places I have, like those guys all came out of the scene. They all grew up listening to early aughts emo, punk rock, and metal stuff. And they know these guys from these bands and stuff.
Right.
It's a cool, like, connecting point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that.
I'm grateful to be in it and grateful for the community,
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, I do have one final question before we sign off. I feel like part of your, magic is that you've been able to identify something special in artists. And so I have to ask you, what was your favorite music discovery in 2025?
Like as a fan?
Yeah. Just what's something you found that you really loved in 2025?
There was actually a lot because I felt like last year there was an explosion in 24 and 25 in like what I would call like the indie spirit-filled hardcore world. Like just a lot more of those bands kind of coming back around. So I'm gonna butcher. I don't want to butcher names because I'm bad at it. Sometimes I can remember my past really well, but frontlist stuff sometimes gets me.
Yeah.
So let me just pull this up real quick. But there's been some really great indie bands that I feel like. So Chaos Must Bow. They're out of North Carolina. They are a total spirit-filled hardcore band. They're friggin' awesome. That really encouraged me last year. There's this band called Dear Adversary that's really great. Those things were just it's funny. Chad Johnson, if you guys know Chad Johnson, who ran Take Hold Records and was at 2000 on his LinkedIn, he did this thing this year of like bands that I would sign if I was an A&R again. And I've been sending him a couple. He actually posted one of them past week. It was a band called Higher Power. They're not a spirit-filled hardcore band, but they're just a great like punk rock hardcore band. So there's been some bands like that have really. There's this band called Pipe Bomb. It's like a one-piece guy. He's awesome.
Kind of Chariot-esque, yeah.
Very Chariot-esque, Every Time I Die kind of thing. I like him. Honestly, a couple of my favorite bands really have been just like the last, I would say, 7 years. Architects, I love Architects out of UK. I love Russ and Kelly. Those have just been two of the artists that I really love a lot. My favorite record last year was this. Joel Houston was part of Hillsong United for a long time, and he put out a solo record last year called AM Radio. It's spelled like AMXN Radio. And it's an incredible worship record where it's not congregational. It's very free-flowing psalms, personal, like it's a lot of heartbreak in it. So it's not like a church worship record. It's very much like a personal thing, which is more what I gravitate towards in worship music. And it's an incredible record. Right. It's basically like if you thought Radiohead was going to make a worship record, that's what this is. Like Sonic,
that's
the most
interesting.
wild thing. You have to kind of listen to it in halves, like because it's long and there's all these interludes and instrumental stuff going on and weird vocoder effect and stuff. But it's not everybody's cup of tea. It is not normal. There's nothing CCM about it. It is just a straight personal worship record, and it's incredible.
Sweet.
So I really love that record a lot. But yeah, man, I think it's a great. I think it's a great scene coming back. Kids are jamming with their peers on guitars, and I didn't think that would be back for a while, honestly.
Yeah, I'm glad.
True. Yeah.
Really
That's
cool
good to hear.
Glad. All right. For our listeners, if you enjoy this nonsense, we have more like it at our Patreon and patreon.com/churchhymnsnow podcast. And of course, from all of us here at the CJN crew, may all your favorite bands stay together and peace out, mon frères.
Church Jams Now. Christian music from the 90s, 2000s, and today.
One of the old Goatee offices, we had this massive warehouse in the back. A lot of product. All the Goatee releases, all the mono versus stereo, because that's where we would grab it to do promotional mailings, things like that. And so when bands would come through, our artists, Goatee, if they ever needed anything, we're like, yeah, grab whatever in the back. Give it to a family. It's cool. I wasn't putting two and two together. And when they would come through, which was a lot because we're in the Southeast, right? They were down in Georgia and they were stopping through. They were always staying at my house. They were always ripping my CD collection, which was totally fine. Like I didn't mind that. All the bands that stayed at my house, they always ripped whatever, and it was great. But when Chase and Victor would come to the Goatee office, they were always just grabbing like tons of stuff, and I wasn't putting it together until years later. Argyle was like, "Yeah, dude, we were taking those things to oh my gosh, what's the chain in the Southeast?" Shoot, and they were selling them for money. Like they
oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
I mean, lots of CDs. Like he's like, I stocked that one store so many grit CDs.
Oh
like
man!
I wasn't putting. I was like, yeah, man, they're really giving out a lot of CDs to their family and all this other kind of stuff. No, man,
real big Grits fans.
What was he telling them at the store when he rolls up? Like,
I have no idea. I
work with the distributor. Like, what?
I have, and he told me like years later, like, yeah, when we were doing that, we were taking those and selling. And I was like, wait, what?
That is so funny.
like all of it, like just tons of CDs,
Oh, that is
man.
so
making extra money, and you can't hate the game. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, like I get it. I'm like, I probably would have done the same thing if I
Respect.
like in my early 20s.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, I can make a couple
Yeah,
extra
I mean,
bucks for some
all those-
cigarettes or whatever.
all those guys
Like,
were, Aaron was talking about it earlier on a podcast. Aaron from Under Oath. I mean, look, all those bands were living off $3 or $5 a day. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Right.
Revenue-
Right. Like, I could get
Yeah, like
get the double cheeseburger today if I sell a couple records.
yeah.
you can spring for the double size, the extra size, super size. Yeah, but I mean, look, that's just a funny little.
That's very funny.
I think it was
love that.
specifically grits. I think if I remember correctly,
love that.
Like I stocked that one
I
store.
love that it's grits.
Yeah,
That's
specifically
excellent.
grits. Yeah.
I know, but hey, it's all good. But I mean, it was just
Gotta
a fun
respect the
little-
hustle.
Yeah, gotta respect the
Yeah.
hustle. The game, man.
I
They're
love
great.
that.
From
But I
one
love-
go getter to another.
That's right.
No, man. But I love those guys, man. They're just honestly some of the best people on the planet.
Yeah. They're
So,
fun. We've had them on a couple times, and
Yeah. Who have you not had on?
We've only had
mean-
had Dave from the Showdown. We've had the Chasing Victor guys. We had most of the Chasing. We've had 4 of the 6 or 7 guys.
Yeah.
We've had.
Here, guys.
Mhm.
Had AJ, right?
yeah, we had
AJ,
AJ on.
AJ.
Him on?
I think that's maybe it from the Mono versus Stereo bands.
Tim would be really good from House of Heroes.
Yeah.
I love those guys. There's one band we didn't talk about, but I mean, those records we made were just so freaking good.
Yep. I found out last year.
What? You never heard them before?
House of Heroes somehow
Yeah, somehow missed,
Blew right past
missed TJ.
Wow.
I don't know how, but like I love The End Is Not the End. Like I love that album.
I think it was crazy, man. I was
I
making
didn't find it till last year.
it was tough because I was making that record when I was going through divorce. That's why I quit Go Team Mono versus Stereo. I left Tennessee, moved to Ohio. But we were making that record, and it's not the end record. And so that record's really emotional for me. But that's an incredible record. I wish we would have cut a couple songs from it. I felt like it's too long, and I think the sequence is off. And that's because I wasn't there. Like I left, and the band then just turned it in with Mark, and I think Mark was kind of fried. But that's one of my regrets on that record. I think there's a couple songs too long on it, and I think the sequence is a bit off. But that's just a personal preference.
Hey, you sound like me on every episode of this podcast.
Yeah,
We
those
discussed
are
the exact
Kylan's
theme.
main notes.
Those are my
most
main
of the
notes on
time.
most albums.
Really? Actually, my favorite record is Cold Hard Want. I think because that record, lyrically, like on The End Is Not the End, they kind of get, it's half conceptual.
Semi-concept, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
it's conceptual.
Mhm.
Never really made a full concept record until way later when they were independent. But on Cold Hard Want, those songs are just about life. And there's a couple of conceptual songs in there, like The Cop and a couple other things, but the majority of the songs are just life songs. And I think it's awesome. I love that record.
Thanks for listening to Church Jams Now. If you liked the show, please consider leaving us a rating or a review. It really helps, and we might even read your review on the show. You can also join our Patreon at patreon.com/churchjamsnowpodcast. Tiers start at $5 per month for tons of bonus content, but you can even join for free to get access to our discussion boards, cast your vote on future episodes, and more. Peace out, Montfrères.